Yesterday, President Trump announced the framework of a trade deal with the United Kingdom. The agreement's going to lower tariff on cars from the UK from 27.5% to 10%, while tariffs on UK steel and aluminum will be dropped completely. But the White House says the baseline 10% tariff on all UK imports will stay in place. Meanwhile, the UK is removing taxes for American companies to sell beef, poultry, and ethanol. It's still not clear when the deal is going to be finalized. As the New York Times reports, the British government is still pushing to bring down the 10% tariff on most other goods. And American officials want Britain to reconsider tax on technology companies. Officials, though, from both governments are going to need to meet in the coming months to hammer out more specific language, leaving open the potential for disagreements. But Gene Robinson, there are a lot of people that are complaining that this is symbolic. Symbolism, obviously, very important. It's also the fact that there is a good relationship between Keir Starmer and the American president certainly helped this move forward, certainly seemed to calm the markets a little bit yesterday. But there are a lot more deals that need to be done before again, those that are concerned about our economy cratering into a recession, before those concerns are eased even more.
Yeah, this seems to me to be absolutely the lowest of the low-hanging fruit that was out there. You know, there's no huge trade imbalance between the U.S. and Britain. It's not as if the U.K. runs some sort of big trade surplus with the United States, and by some measures it's the other way around. I didn't see a lot in this about the areas in which that are sort of more important to the two economies where the U.S. and the U.K. actually compete. I mean, in financial services, for example, the City of London versus Wall Street in tech. Britain is probably the you know, after the U.S. and China, arguably, Britain would be further along in AI than any other country. A lot of, you know, Google's DeepMind started there. And I know that the UK is very interested in a sort of more cooperative relationship going forward, especially in tech. So we'll see how this evolves, but this is not actually like a trade deal. It's a framework that doesn't change a lot, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's certainly a popular sentiment. Yeah, it matters, but it is just a small piece of this, and there's a long way to go, considering that the trade relationships the U.S. still needs to establish with places like Canada, Mexico, China in particular. And David Rohde, I know you think that this is a bit of a distraction. We say a lot on the show, and it's true. It's been borne out his first term and again this term. When President Trump wants to talk about something else, usually his reflex is to go to immigration. But to these days, because his tariffs and the trade war he has started have so dominated this term, this administration right now. We've seen the markets react. We've seen the economic worries and the like. White House aides told me last week that they were really eager to get some sort of deal done. They have one now. But you argue this is actually distracting. Like, hey, look at this. I mean, because they're not addressing a lot of the other global crises, including what we're seeing overseas, India, Pakistan, and the rest.
Yes. So he has changed the narrative again, and he's very successful at that. But in terms of his foreign policy achievements, you know, peace in Ukraine, first day he's in office, that hasn't happened. Gaza, there's been no solution there, and a worsening, humanitarian situation there. And then these key negotiations with Iran. So he has his first international trip next week. He's going to go to Saudi Arabia and other parts of the Middle East. He hasn't really achieved much in terms of his broad foreign policy, anything at all. And what we're hearing is that the Ukraine talks have stalled. Putin might not be willing to compromise at all. It's very unclear what's going to happen in Gaza. And the talks with Iran are really important. Our colleague Courtney Kube reported that this bombing campaign against the Houthis, last week Trump declared victory and said they had capitulated. They haven't capitulated. They're still saying they're going to attack Israel. And most of all, in the 7 weeks of the bombing campaign, it has cost hundreds of millions of dollars, possibly $1 billion. So these are all struggles in terms of the foreign policy front. In many ways, he's stuck in this same sort of quagmire that the Biden administration struggled with also, and he hasn't been able to shift away from that.